Ho, ho, ho! ¡Feliz Navidad! ¡Felices fiestas! Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. No importa la hora que sea, siempre, siempre, siempre es un gran momento para aprender español con Profesor Pablo. La lección de hoy es, it's a sentence starter. I had to. Are you going to go tuve que or are you going to go tenía que? Now, traditionally, historically, going back hundreds of lessons ago, we studied preterite, many different lessons, likewise with the imperfect. We know the preterite is for completed past action, something that you did, it's over, it's happened. Imperfect, on the other hand, is something that you used to do, something that you were doing when referred to an ongoing past condition, right? Something that was not over yet, it was still happening and unfolding, right? Something that happened or you would do all the time. Well, they talk about feeling tone when you're a teacher and your students in your classroom. You want to have a nice feeling tone. Well, we want to develop a nice feeling tone. We want to go beyond the basic traditional explanation of preterite versus imperfect and deal with some feelings here. If you're talking about something that just came up, and you did it. You say, oh yeah, I had to go to the store, I had to go take a driver's test, I had to get dinner ready, I had to help my dad. If it's something that just popped up and came up, it wasn't planned out, you had no prior knowledge you were going to have to do it, then you're probably going to go with tuve que, preterite. Down here, tenía que would be something that you had prior knowledge about. Like you say like, oh, I had to take my mom to the doctor. Tenía que llevar a mi mamá a la doctora. Tenía que llevar. I had to take my mom. That's implying that before taking your mom, you already knew that you were going to have to take her, like she had an appointment. But let's say you were with your mom and she didn't feel well, and all of a sudden it just happened. You had to take her to the doctor. That would be tuve que llevar a mi mamá a ver a la doctora or al doctor. So this is the beauty of Spanish. It's feeling tone. Do you feel like you want to go preterite as something that popped up and kind of just happened? When you say I had to do something in English, like I had to go to the store, well, if you had to go to the store every day to deliver newspapers or something, that would be in Spanish, tenía que ir a la tienda para entregar los periódicos. But if it's a one-time thing, right, something that popped up, your dad does it, he couldn't do it, you were going to go in his place, tuve que ir a la tienda para entregar los periódicos. I had to go to the store to deliver the newspapers. So this is not about learning preterite versus imperfect. This is learning the nuance between tuve que and tenía que. Also, if it is something that you had prior knowledge of or already planning to do it, you still could say tuve que. If you're just referring to the act, oh, I had to do it, tuve que. But it doesn't mean that you weren't anticipating it. But let's look at some examples. Okay, the first part is you're going to choose either tuve que or tenía que. I had to pay the bills. All right, if it's something that just popped up and like you went to, a lot of us take care of our folks and we have to go, and sometimes they're unable to pay their bills themselves. They're ill or they're not thinking real straight, and so you want to say like, I was over at the house, estaba en la casa de mis padres, and they normally pay the bills. Normalmente ellos pagan las cuentas, pero ayer tuve que pagarles las cuentas. I had to pay the bills for them. Tuve que pagar las cuentas. It's something that popped up, okay? But if you say, I had to pay the bills, and you were anticipating paying the bills, you had prior knowledge that before you went to their house, you were going to have to pay the bills, and you'd say, tenía que pagar las cuentas. Tenía que pagar las cuentas. Ir a recoger a los niños. To go pick up the kids, whether it's from practice or school or from church or some function, right? You want to say if it's a one-time thing, let's say your brother or your sister was going to go pick up the kids and they, at the last minute, were not able, and you say, tuve que ir a recoger a los niños, a mis hermanos. I had to go pick up my brother and sister. Tuve que ir a recoger a mis hermanos. But if it's something like I had to pick up my brother and sister, and it's something that you did all the time in the past, and you're talking about, it could be a one-time thing, like Why were you late? ¿Por qué llegaste tarde? You could say, tenía que ir a recoger a mis hermanos. I had to go pick up my brother and sister. When you say tenía que, you're implying that yes, that day, at that time, you did have to go get them, but it's something that was a repeated action in the past. You had prior knowledge. You already planned on going to pick them up. You were anticipating picking them up. You'd say, so if I'm listening to you and you say to me, tenía que ir a recoger a mis hermanos, then what I'm getting from that is like, you having to go get your kids is something that you knew about before you went to get them. But if you tell me like, tuve que ir a recoger a mis hermanos, I'm getting the feeling that something just popped up. But you could say it as kind of a summary statement, tuve que ir a recoger a mis hermanos. And that does not eliminate the fact that it was a customary thing that you had to do. So this is the beauty of the Spanish language. You get a feel. We talk about feeling tone. Whether you want to go tuve que or tenía que. Let's take a look at this one. Ayudar a mis abuelitos. You got a phone call from grandma and grandpa, and they needed your help. And you say, tuve que, I had to. You're going to go preterite, right? It's something that popped up, just came up. Tuve que ayudar a mis abuelitos. I had to help my grandma and grandpa. I had to help my grandma and grandpa. Tuve que ayudar a mis abuelitos. But let's say someone says, where were you? ¿Dónde estabas? ¿Por qué llegaste tarde? Why were you late? And let's say you answer instead of tuve que ayudar a mis abuelitos, and you say, that's implying something came up. But if you say tenía que ayudar a mis abuelitos, you're implying that yes, you had to help your grandma and grandpa, but it's something that you had prior knowledge about. It's something that you already planned. It's something that you were anticipating. Okay? Here we go. Arreglar la sala. Let's say mom got a phone call and she was going to have some guests unplanned, but they were going to come over in a half hour, and tuve rápido que arreglar la sala. I had to pick up the living room, not literally obviously, but clean up. Tuve que arreglar la sala, straighten up. Preterite, okay? But if cleaning the living room was your chore and you had to do it all the time, you'd say, tenía que arreglar la sala primero. I had to clean up the living room first. So if you say tenía, that's implying a repeated action or something that you had prior knowledge about. Let's say you went to your grandparents' house and this just one day you had to clean it up, but the reason you left a little bit late was because tenías que limpiar la sala, arreglar la sala, because you already had prior knowledge, you already planned it, you were anticipating it. You could just summarize and say, yesterday I went to my grandparents' house, ayer fui a la casa de mis abuelos, and I had to clean up the living room. Y tuve que arreglar la sala. That's what you're saying right there. But if you're giving a reason like why you were late or something, you say tenía que, then again, the implication is that what you had to do was something that you knew you had to do before you did it. Tuve que is something that just kind of popped up. Llevar los paquetes a la oficina de correos. To take the packages to the post office. Many times, people in business, they send out packages all the time and they mail them UPS, FedEx, or USPS here in the United States, aquí en los Estados Unidos. It's a one-time thing. I had to take, tuve que llevar los paquetes a la oficina de correos. Tenía que llevar los paquetes a la oficina de correos. Again, it's showing that you had prior knowledge, you already planned to do it, and you're anticipating doing it. Tenía que llevar los paquetes, like it was a customary thing that you would do. Sacar a pasear al perro, to take the dog out for a walk. Let's say, again, you go to your parents' house and they're not feeling well, and you get home a little bit late, and your wife says, or your brother, whoever says, your significant other says, ¿Dónde estabas? ¿Por qué llegaste tarde? Tuve que sacar al perro. I had to take out the dog. If you say, ¿por qué llegaste tarde? And you say, tenía que sacar a pasear al perro, it still means I had to take the dog out, but what you're implying is that you had prior knowledge. Before you got there, you knew you were going to have to take it out. That was something that was already planned. You were anticipating doing it. So again, It's just like on a piano. You get different tones, different music, right? I never was a pianist, but with the tuve and tenía que, you can see the nuance, you can see the similarities, and you can see how you can kind of do it like a hybrid and cross over. Depositar el dinero en el banco. If it's a one-time thing, tuve que depositar el dinero en el banco. I had to deposit the money in the bank. ¿Por qué llegaste tarde? Tenía que depositar el dinero en el banco. I had the task of already planned out. I knew I had to do it, right? Tenía que depositar el dinero en el banco. Ir a ver al doctor, to go see the doctor. Something happened, something popped up. I fell down, I didn't feel well. Tuve que ir a ver al doctor. I had to go see the doctor. It says, ¿por qué llegaste tarde? Why were you late? Tenía que ir a ver al doctor. I had to go see the doctor. It was already scheduled, right? Tenía que ir a ver. The need to go, right, existed before something. It just didn't pop up. You had an appointment, okay? Llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. I had to take the kids to see Santa Claus. One-time thing, tuve que llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. Again, if it's something that was planned and you went to a homeless shelter with little kids, God forbid, or you went to the YMCA, or you went to somewhere where there's a group of kids that wanted to go see Santa Claus and you work for a company that does that, right? You'd say, tenía que llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. I had to take the kids to go see Santa Claus. If it's something you repeatedly did for a job, and not a one-time taking the kids, but an all the time, it'd be tenía que llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. Okay, why were you late? ¿Por qué llegaste tarde? Tenía que llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. There you go. Okay, if you say tuve que llevar, why were you late? And tuve que llevar a los niños, that works. I had to take the kids to go see Santa Claus. That's like a statement of fact. When you say tenía que llevar, you're showing that there was an obligation before you went to take them. Tenía que llevar a los niños a ver a Santa Claus. ¡Ho, ho, ho! ¡Feliz Navidad! Y próspero Año Nuevo. Tomar un examen para sacar mi licencia. To take a test to get my license. One-time thing, fui al DMV. Tuve que, I had to. Tuve que tomar un examen para sacar mi licencia. Okay? Someone says, hey, I saw your car in the parking lot at the DMV. Oye, vi tu carro en el estacionamiento del DMV. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué fuiste al DMV? You say, tenía que tomar un examen para sacar mi licencia. Tenía, again, is showing that you had an appointment. You had prior knowledge. You already planned to go. So there you go. So let's say you're at the DMV and you're taking care of something. You had no idea you had to take a test. And you say, wow, fui al DMV y tuve que tomar un examen. That would be tuve que, preterite. But if you went there and you had it planned, right, scheduled, tenía que tomar un examen para sacar mi licencia. Again, it's like a hybrid. Tuve que and tenía que. They both mean in English, I had to. But many times, when you're going to use tuve que, right, sometimes you can also use tenía que. It just depends on how you want to convey what's in your mind. Whether it's like an obligation, something that you knew you were going to have to do, tenía que, or something that popped up, tuve que. Okay, so that's the lesson. And of course, tener and the preterite, I know you know that. Tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvistes, and tuvieron. And then tenía, tenías, tenía, teníamos, and tenían. So there you go. Those are the forms of tener, and that's the lesson. So I just want to end this with ho, ho, ho. How do you spell ho, ho, ho in Spanish? J-O, J-O, J-O. If you spell it H-O, 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 you know what you got? O, O, O. Remember, H is silent. La H es muda, no se pronuncia. Ho, ho, ho. J-O, J-O, J-O. Okay, amigos? Felices fiestas. Feliz Navidad. Próspero Año Nuevo. Hasta luego, mis amigos. Bye bye.